Meanwhile, rampant crime in South Africa has been cited among the many stumbling blocks preventing the improvement of the country's economy. Our reporter Lerato Fekisi spoke to an academic from Nelson Mandela University about this issue and how it affects investment.
There's huge expectation ahead of Minister of Finance's midterm budget speech, especially to hear if the GNU is going to give better economic opportunities for the people of South Africa. Top of the agenda obviously will be the issue of unemployment and also servicing debt, which has been a huge issue for the Government of National Unity. I'm joined this morning by Professor Ronney Ncwadi, Head of Economics at Nelson Mandela University. Professor, obviously top of the agenda will be how he deals with the issue of unemployment, high in the Eastern Cape, but also high nationally for the country.
Yes, that's a big problem in South Africa. High unemployment. So we need to look at fiscal consolidation. That is, we need to manage the debt to GDP ratio, ensure that we do not grow our debt, and we need therefore to ensure that our budget looks at investment. It must be an inward-looking budget where we look at where we can invest our money in order to create the jobs. So the only way to raise the revenue is to ensure that we put our money within this economy and invest in infrastructure, make sure that the businesses are thriving and growing, invest in small and medium enterprises, and also make sure that the firms that are in South Africa do not go away. We cannot afford capital outflow in South Africa at this point in time. So that, to me, I think that will be a way to ensure that we fight this unemployment in South Africa that we are facing in our province and also in South Africa.
Professor, also do you feel that with the introduction now of the GNU, which has promised better economic opportunities for South Africans, will attract investors perhaps because the new Government of National Unity will perhaps encourage investors to come and invest and then help deal with the issue of the debt?
Certainly, yes. It would encourage investors to come and invest, because remember that investors are looking for a place where their money can be safe. And therefore, we need to minimize all uncertainties in the economy and make sure that investors feel safe with their money in here. And therefore, also the investors will not put their money in the economy that's not growing. So we need to see how can we grow this economy, because we cannot share an economy that is shrinking. So to grow the economy, we need to improve the skills or work in our education systems and ensure that we produce a labor force that is able to produce and become productive in South Africa. That way, I think we'll be able to attract the investors to come in, because investors, when they come to a particular country, they're looking for a particular level of skills, because those guys are driven by profits. And therefore, we need to ensure that we keep up to date in terms of the skills globally and, of course, right here in South Africa.
During his State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa spoke of South Africa being a huge construction hub, saying that construction could be a huge economic driver for the country itself. Which other sectors must this Government of National Unity now zoom in on to ensure that we increase our economy through these various sectors?
Yes, indeed, depending on each province. Now, for instance, you need to look at your agricultural sector, which supplies food. Our farmers, we need to look at that automotive sector as well. We need to put our money there. Needless to mention the tourism, tourist sector. We need to put money there because we need to strengthen our currency. We do that by attracting foreign money coming to this country to strengthen our rand, which will be a way to, address the import of oil and our fuel. So it's important, therefore, that we look at those strategic sectors to grow this economy, which I think one of them is really the construction sector is one of the important sectors, as you said. And of course, we need to look at also your agriculture. We need to look at your education sector as well, ensure that we supply the skills that we need, as I've said. And therefore, also we need to look at tourism, as I said. But in order to thrive in those sectors, we need to ensure that we deal with crime. There's no way we can be able to address that if we still have crime in South Africa. We need to address that. Safety and security is very important. It comes on top, because the government has got to ensure that we have a conducive environment for investors and for business as well.
And then lastly, Prof, if you go around generally in South Africa and especially the Eastern Cape, you hear people are complaining that just basic living has become tough. The price of food has gone up, just general standard of living has gone up. Will that also be top of his agenda to try and ensure that the people at the bottom end, which are struggling just to put bread on the table, are also adhered to?
Yes, indeed. We need to make sure the control for inflation, because that's inflationary pressure. When prices increase generally in the economy, how do you control that, to ensure that people are able to afford? So we need to ensure that the incomes of the people earn a living wage, because if you don't do that, people are going to suffer. They must earn a living wage, and we need to ensure that the money that the people get and the prices also out there are controlled such that there's no volatility in terms of prices. We don't have a price escalation and control for inflation. At least then the people will be able to manage the cost of living.
Thank you so much. much. Well, that was Professor Ronney Ncwadi, who's the head of economics here at Nelson Mandela University, speaking about his expectations ahead of the midterm budget speech by the Minister of Finances, saying that key to ensuring that we draw investors into the country will also be ensuring that we curb the issue of crime, and then also making sure that when intensify safety and security, then people will begin to invest in the country and then be able to grow the economy like the JNU has promised.